Hey, this is Coach Kinsey Shae, and I'm here with Bobby Merwin. And
Hello.
since it's so close to Valentine's Day, or I used to
Yes, it
say VD
is.
Day, and people didn't like that.
Probably reminded him of some very bad times, some very high medical bills, some bad explanations.
I
Oh, I
know.
don't know.
But no, does love really matter? I mean, I really want to talk about this because one, this is the month of love. It's Valentine's Day, and we kind of look
hmm
at it from a romantic stance. But quite
hmm
often, we don't look at it from the stance of why it's important to being resilient in life, um, allowing us
Okay.
to deal with struggles and challenges in life, and how we can
hmm
just build up that resilience muscle just by increasing our frequency with love. I always talk about the replenishing, and love is one of those emotions. It can be a triggering emotion, so I usually go with appreciation and gratitude and compassion. But
hmm
it is a really good, like, just really feel into when you say love. Like, what is your self talk? What's coming up? Because that's going to be a key of what
Okay.
your
Yeah.
growth, your intention for growth is. Because if you get triggered by love, there's some healing that needs to happen.
Right. Now, when you say triggered, let's be clear now. When you say triggered by love, meaning like you think about things like Valentine's Day and you think about all the romance, the dinners, and all the flowers and whatever, and you're triggered by that because you don't have it or because you don't want it or you had bad experiences.
It could be all of them.
Okay.
I mean, we can all get activated for different reasons.
Mm
After my divorce, I got activated or triggered because I
hmm.
felt
Mm hmm.
that I would never attain it again. Because
Right. Okay.
close to 40, divorced, no kids. I was very much in my career path,
Mm
um,
hmm.
and very in that masculine energy. And I just felt that nobody would want that, you
Mm
know?
hmm. Yeah.
And so I think people really can leave a bad taste in people's mouths. No pun intended with that. Um,
Don't you have noises or sound effects to go with things like that? Come
I
on.
know,
They're right
I
there. But we're going to do it right at the same time. Yes. Result.
know,
Okay,
but
so getting
but
back to the clean world.
I know. But this in this time and space in 2025, we are in a
hmm
space where we're getting activated quite frequently.
Yeah.
We are cutting off relationships just because they have different views. Um, you know,
You mean
we're
cutting
getting,
off relationships with other people and other possibilities because
yeah,
they have different views?
yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we
there
are.
are people. I mean, we went through that whole thing like in Thanksgiving where people were like, I'm just not going to my family's, because they don't see.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking like intimate relationships, but you're thinking all of it.
I'm thinking all
So,
encompassing because in this time and space, the way to move through circumstances and move through challenges is to cultivate love within yourself so that you
mhm.
energetically affect other people because you can't control what other people do, but you can control your
Yeah.
own vessel. You can control your own
Something
heart
I
space,
talk to
your
people
mental
about all the
body.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Your
try and
emotional body.
I try and get people to grasp that simple concept all the time, and part of the reason that they can't grasp it is it's so simple they've just went over it so far.
Right. I mean, there's a
But
quote I'm going to read. It's by Rumi. He's a 13th century poet and scholar. I love reading his stuff, but it's
mhm,
love is the water of life. Drink it down with heart and soul.
mhm,
Just let it soak into your essence, soak into every cell. let that permeate, because that will raise your frequency, that will raise your vibration, and it will give you a conduit to heal, a pathway to
Hmm.
heal. Just in a personal light, not in a romantic light. After my car accident, I listened to frequency music at 528 hertz, and that's the love or miracle frequency. And I did my
Okay.
vision meditations. I did my, where I was looking at my arm being functional. I wasn't looking at the circumstances. I wasn't looking at what I was going through in that time and space, but I really anchored to that frequency, and I allowed myself to see a vision of myself that I had no reason to believe that it was going to happen based on my
Okay.
circumstances. And quite often
Hmm.
in relationships, we armor ourselves with all of this disbelief, all of the hurt, all of the anger, and we project that onto others. And then we're wondering, nobody loves me, nobody cares. And it's like, you're kind of making your bed. Like, you can feel energy. If you're protecting your heart, you're not going to see the possibilities that are right in front of you.
No, I couldn't agree with that more. Yes. I'm going to say yes and not no. Yes. I mean, I went through a long time of doing the heart protecting, especially after my divorce. And
Hmm.
then it took a while for that to get better. And I had a buddy of mine, Scott, who I love very much, and he's a very dear friend of mine. And he's a very wise man. And he says, one of the things that I worry about with you is that you'll become hard.
Right.
And he said, I can't see it happening because you're such a loving person, but I think this was one of the worst things that you've ever went through,
Right.
as far as a relationship is
Yeah.
concerned. And
And
I told him, I said, I could see where you get that now, but I know that it's just me, being like this right now.
yeah.
And soon I'll get tired of holding these up
Right.
and they're going to start to fall.
Correct.
And it's hard to see that when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like when I was in the throes of that and in the throes of the last relationship that I was in. And I use the euphemism of looking down a tunnel to see a light.
Right.
And I couldn't see a light.
Right.
And I was so crushed by that. And therefore the arms go back up again like this. And I'm like, nope. And I dropped them even quicker
Yeah.
because I started learning about how that's just not going to work for me.
Right.
And it hasn't. And now I'm able to let people in. But, I do have boundaries. Boundaries are a big deal when it comes to love.
Correct. And it's just
Yeah.
knowing your values. If you don't know what you stand for, what your values are, and you're looking for, quite often you look at values that you don't have, so you won't even know
Hmm.
them because you don't know them. So how
Yeah.
can you ask for, somebody to be unconditional in their love if you don't know what that is? If your love is always under conditions, they have to make this amount of money, they have to be 6 foot, they have to be this, that, and the other.
Exactly. Mm.
Because we all come in different packages, but we all are in a different journey in our life, and sometimes we close the door on a lot of things that could be very beautiful.
Yeah, I think that comes with closing the door on things that were not beautiful.
Hmm.
And we see any sort of a flicker of something like an orange flag, and we go, oh, no, I'm done. Slam that door.
Well, we're
I think
projecting
that says
our
that you're
heart.
not ready yet. I think
Yeah,
that says that you have to give it a little bit more time so you're not like this. Remember, this is not the position we want to be in. This is not a love position.
no.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I remember after my divorce, I'm like, I've been there, I've done that. I don't need a man that da 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 da. I was projecting my stuff
did
on
you have the
every.
finger thing and the
Yeah,
head going and like, oh,
I did.
you're killing me. Oh, that was perfect. I don't need this. I don't need that. La, la, la. That was so good.
That's exactly how I
Oh,
said it. But it took several years after my divorce, and it took, um, I think, right before my car accident, I
Hmm.
started to do it. I started just to focus on my relationship with myself because I knew there was a void there. I knew I was projecting. I knew, but
Hmm.
I knew enough not to get into a relationship, but I still projected on other people that asked me.
Hmm.
Um, but I took Valentine's Day as a self-love day. I took myself
Hmm.
out to dinner. I would run a hot bubble bath and put roses in it. I would buy
Hmm.
myself, sushi, watch a movie, have a nice glass of wine. I did what I wanted somebody else to do for me because quite
Okay.
often we have to love ourselves first. And we have to
Hmm.
forgive ourselves for whatever our part was in the past relationships because
Right.
honey, it takes two to tango, okay?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, the last relationship I was in,
uh,
I had to, take a look at what I had done wrong, and I had done wrong,
mhm,
and I was hoping that, as far as the love had gone and the relationship had gone, that it would be strong enough to work through that.
mhm,
Because what we need to realize is that there's a cycle with love. I wish that it could be that same 3 months for the rest of our lives. Honeymoon phase, tons of sex, giggling, butt slapping, dinners, movies, more sex, the whole thing, right?
right.
And then you get to like that fourth month and things start to do what it's doing. This is why we call that area of the marriage the 7-year itch, because it's been timed out
Right.
as to how love kind of does this weird titration of its own self.
Well, it's an invitation to
And
grow. I mean, honestly, if things shift, if you're not in the process of growth, if you're not growing together and making time to learn each other, you're going to grow
mm-hmm,
apart. And that's exactly what happened in my marriage because we were very focused on different things and we
mm-hmm.
were very focused on doing things separately. And part of
I
that
remember that. Mm.
was me, and part of it was him. This isn't me throwing him under the bus. This is just me talking candidly about my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing. I'm not throwing shade on him, and I'm not throwing shade on me. This is part of accepting and acknowledging and assessing to leverage the lesson, my friends.
Leverage the lesson.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's
And what
okay
is that?
if you're in that angry state. But don't mud wrestle in that for a long time because you're just going to be in that mud by yourself.
That's right.
Wrestling
That's
yourself.
right. It's just like we've talked about. That's a weird vision, by the way.
I know.
It's just like what we talked about in many episodes previous to this, where I believe that acceptance and forgiveness is some of the strongest things that you can have and do.
Right.
And in the relationship that I had, sadly, the other person had gotten to a crescendo, and they were like, "Nope, I'm done."
Hmm.
And their level of toleration was X, whereas somebody else's level of toleration could have been Y.
Right.
So it was sad, and it was one of the probably worst things emotionally in love that's ever happened to me.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I don't have any control, and I just have to. Unfortunately, I have to move on. So.
Well, a lot of women that, I have coached and I've talked to, they're like, I'm okay with being by myself. I'm okay. I'm not doing this and all this
Mhm.
and like what need did you have that got you to that anger point? Because there was a need that was not met.
Okay. Right.
And what was your communication? Was it passive or direct? And when I say direct, that doesn't mean aggressive.
Right, which that gets confused all the time today, by the
Yeah.
way. Like, oh, I was just being direct. I'm like, no, you were being an asshole. You want to try again and speak with a nicer
I
voice? That
know.
would be great.
I mean, like, start with the facts. Like, if they're 10, 15 minutes late, just say, you told me you were going to be here, or the time we set, because I try not to say you. Um,
Right, so do I.
the time we agreed upon was 5 o'clock. And, you got here at 5:15, and that time passed. it's hard not to say you, even
Say the
not
word
though.
you. I know it's so hard. It
And
is though.
if it's
I'm
hard for
I'm
us that
watching you
teach
do it.
this, I mean, it is
Mm-hmm.
difficult. It takes headspace, my friends. And
Mm-hmm.
you can just get into like when that wasn't met, it made me feel this way, that way, that you didn't love me, you didn't care, you didn't make me a priority. This is because I
Mm-hmm.
make it straight, like this is just my feelings and what I made it mean. You
Mm-hmm.
are okay to have those feelings, but you don't put it on them to fix, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then go into like my desire is, and compromise. It's not going to be easy
Mm-hmm.
peasy the first few times you do that if you're thinking of
Mm-hmm.
different ways of communication, but there has to be a communication process of, okay, if I have a need that's not met, we are going to talk about the facts, what I thought, what I made it mean, and then what the desire is. Like you have to have a game
Mm-hmm.
plan before the hot triggered thing happens, or it's going to go down the tubes real quick.
Yeah. I mean, we can't have that for 100% of things, but I do get what you're saying. And again, trying to walk people through the thoughts, feeling, and action
Yeah,
delta,
yeah,
so that you don't go from thoughts to feelings to actions that quickly.
yeah.
Like the whole, when you get a shitty email that really pisses you off, take a half an hour and walk away, take an hour, whatever your standard is, and just walk away. Don't go right back to it because that's an action now. Oh, and
Right.
by the way, disclaimer, Kinsey doesn't just dump guys because they're 15 minutes late for a dinner. Just so you know,
No, I
she's
don't.
much nicer than that.
That
She's
was
using
just
that
an
as an example.
arbitrary. That was.
It is 5:17 and this is late now. Punctuality is key. You must go. Yeah.
No, all of my friends and relationships I've been in, I'm like, I'm okay with you being late, but I require communication. If you don't communicate with me, if you're going to be more than 10 minutes late, I'm gonna get activated because I am very
Mm-hmm.
much, that's kind of one of my boundaries because I see it as respect, a form of respect,
Mm-hmm.
and communication is a form of respect. And if you're in a
Yes, it
relationship,
is.
if you're in a relationship with somebody, it should be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have these conversations. My friends all tease me about it. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, we have levity about it, but they all know my boundaries. They all text me. They know that I like ETAs. I'm like, what's your ETA? Because if you're just saying I'm going to show up on Saturday and you don't give me an ETA, that disrupts my whole day.
Right. That would be kind of odd.
But I've had friends,
Like,
they go, oh, I'll stop by sometime Saturday. Can you give
like
me?
I told you today, I was going to be there in 3 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? I'm like, I like that kind of respect, and I want to give that to you. It's like
yeah,
I'm not there at exactly 2:30. I'm like, I gotta let her know. This is what's happening. I'll be there in 3 minutes, and I was.
yeah.
So.
But what my point is that what we all have needs and we all have love language. I can't remember what all the love languages are. Quality
I'll have to
time,
look them up.
gifts. There's three other ones. But it's good to know each
Okay.
other's love languages because that might not be in alignment with your values. If somebody always needs gifts and
Mm-hmm.
external validation, and I'm not putting this down, but you might look at it as externally validating your love with
Mm-hmm.
materialistic things. If you're not in the
I don't like that.
material world, then that's going
Mm-hmm.
to be a trigger for you almost every time.
Yeah. So the five are words of affirmation, quality time,
Hmm.
physical touch,
Yeah.
acts of service, receiving gifts. Now,
Yeah.
just for fun, because we're here, which one of those five are the biggest for you? Words of
Quali-
affirmation, quality
Quality
time, physical
time,
touch.
quality time, and touch.
Okay. I like that. I think that mine would be. Funny thing is that I've looked at this and it's like, it's about 22% on each one of them, except receiving gifts.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not a
a
gift
big
receiving person. I can give gifts, but I'm not good at receiving them.
Ooh. But there's ebb and flow with that too.
There is.
You have to hold space for both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. So, that's just good to know. Like whenever I get in a relationship, I'm like, "What's your love language? What do you?" And they're like, "What?" And I'll look it up. And I'm like, "Take this quiz so I know where you're at." Because if they always want me to give them gifts, that's going to be like work for me because that's not,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's not love. It's not. Um, it's touch and quality time. Like what
Mm-hmm.
I see as quality time is like if we set up a time to be together, I don't want your phone going off 101 times. Like you're setting up time to be with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, why is this happening? We're supposed to be together right now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I make that very clear. And some people, their jobs, I have broken things off because their job is number one. It will, they made it very clear that it's always going to be number one. And those are their words because I don't like to use always, but they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
this is my job. This is my business. This is what I have to do. I'm sorry, there's balance and everything. I have a business. You balance.
Yeah, there is balance and everything. I think that's an excuse when people say I can't get away because of work. I mean, I could see like a couple of days, like where the shit hits the fan with something. It's like you really got to
Or if
concentrate
you
on it.
have a
But
project coming up, but you have the conversation, like there's something really big. I have an event. This is going to be my
mm-hmm.
focus for these next 2 weeks. But we can have quality time in smaller sections of that because you're not going to be working constantly in those 2 weeks. That's going to be a huge part of your focus is if you're doing an event.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
which will be me in August and September because I'm doing an event. But uh, with that, it's just having, again, communication. It's love. It's respect,
Mm-hmm.
and just as with humanity, if we led in love, a lot of this discourse that's going on online, this anger, this trolling, it would go away. It's just this I gotcha or the judgment. If you see people with love, like when people cut me off,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get angry anymore. I used to.
I
But
used to as well. Well, let's see what you do.
but now I'm just like, I just send, might sound woo woo or whatever. I just send like a bubble of love and I just pray for them that they're going to be safe and that everybody else is going to be safe.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's one way to do it, and I like that. That's adorable. I
Well,
love
and when
that.
I first started doing it, it felt very weird, but I
Uh-huh.
wasn't going to allow other people to determine how I was going to act because that makes me a victim because other people's behaviors are
Right.
controlling my behavior.
Right.
And I refuse to have other
Excuse
people
me.
determine my behavior, So
Right.
even in this day and age, with everything that's been going on, the majority of my posts, if you look back, it's all about loving yourself, sending, having gratitude, because there's lessons. Like even with if you have an enemy, or you dislike somebody greatly, they could be a catalyst to learn a lesson and propel
Mm-hmm.
humanity, propel you to be a better person because you're looking for the lesson. You're not looking to be a victim because of somebody's actions. Does that make sense?
Right. Can I? It does. Can I tell you what I do when somebody cuts me off in
But
traffic? I think you're gonna love this, especially when my daughter's in the car. It's really funny. I always say, "Oh, they must have to poop really bad," and I just smile, like because that's what I'm gonna chalk it up to.
right.
I know that I used to, throw a lot of superlatives out there and do whatever, but you know what? Let me check and see how much I can control of what just happened. None.
Well,
0. Just let it go.
well, and
Let me
the
go.
way to move away from it and not anchor, because a lot of people are like, this is just who I am type of
Mm,
mentality. You're anchoring to that emotion, and for you to move away from that, it's going to be very difficult because you're kind of straddling
that's
both
true.
worlds.
Yes.
Um, but
Speaking of straddling both worlds, how do we
yeah,
tie
but
this into
if
love?
you say historically, I used to do this.
Uh-huh.
Historically, this is what I used to do. But my intention now, it's all about that's where your power is
Those are the power words.
accept and acknowledge what historically you used to do.
Uh-huh.
And then you move it into intention because you make a decision to do something different.
Good. Yes.
Yep.
Historically, this is what I used to do, but now my intention
Yep.
is to do this.
Yep. The people that I coach, I drive them crazy with that. Because I'm big on words. Words matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So
especially the
historically, in
especially the I am. Like the I am
mm-hmm.
frustrated. I am the like you're not giving space for anything else. You're not
No.
releasing it. You're not surrendering it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're always, for the most part, you're going to have that frustration. That's you're putting that in the universe. And like will attract like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I think love, it's important. And we, as a society, I tell people all the time I love them. And some people, they get weirded out by it. And I'm like, there's a difference between loving humanity and being in love. And
Yeah.
I've had partners where they're like, you just say you love everybody and you devalue my love. And I'm like, no, love is a core emotion. It's one of my core values. And so I'm going to say that I love somebody or I appreciate them. I say it all the time. I say it to you. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just part of who I am. So if you're telling me I can't do something that's in my core essence, then we're not in alignment.
Correct. And that goes back to when we were talking about love.
Yeah.
And I said something about the 3 month,
Mm-hmm.
sex and movies and,
Right.
crackers in bed. That's great, but we have to realize that it is going to evolve. It's a made up word. That's a Bobbyism, not even a
It is.
Kinseyism.
It's a Bobbyism.
Into into different areas. And
Yeah.
I would like to interview people that have been married for 40 and 50 years and see what the synonymy is with it. I mean, I have talked to some and they say, just ignore her, and I'm like, that's not
I've
a
heard that
marriage.
a
That's a
lot, actually.
cohabitation. That's a
Yeah.
cohabitation.
Yeah.
I want to be in love
Yeah.
in that way. I mean, and it's not going first 3 months, the first 3 months. That's it. It's all you get. You can touch on it a little bit later, but you're not going to have that magic every
Don't
day.
see it as all you get. Your love in a romantic relationship, it will evolve and it should be communicated and the growth should happen together. You should be moving in the same direction. Um, if you're in it just to like like I'm using always as kind of facetious right now. If you always want to feel that sexual desire the first 3 months for the whole life of
Mm-hmm.
your relationship, that's not
Mm-hmm.
really in reality for the most part because there's going to be things that happen, illnesses, injuries, work stress, that is going to limit that, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
It is, and
Life
it's also
happens.
going to, wane, like I was saying before, because like I said, I've been a counselor for 15 years. I've heard this over and over and over and over again. People don't necessarily use these words, but they're trying to hint that they wish it was still like this. And I'm like I said, you can go back to it, but you can't move there. It's like your old house. It's like they always say you can't go back to where you grew up, or what is the term? I can't think of the term, but I could drive by my old house,
Mm,
be there, okay? But you have to remember how wonderful and treasured that was, and that was a time that you had, and now you need to move on to the next time. And it's a beautiful growth. There's a lot of beautiful growth to happen,
Yeah,
but you have to give it a chance. You can't hang on to one thing and go, no, I still want this.
right.
That's not
Well,
how it works.
whenever I hear that when I'm coaching somebody, I always, I tend to think that was that the pure basis of your relationship starting out? Because if that was the pure basis of your relationship starting out,
Mhm.
that's going to be an unmet need because you're going to have that
Oh yeah.
expectation. But if
Oh
you
yeah.
and you your focus is appreciation, love the being of the person, their essence, that love will transcend
Hmm.
time.
Yep.
So when I hear I just want the sex how it used to be, yes, sex is important, but sex for a long period of time requires communication because our bodies do change. The stuff we're doing
They do.
as you know in our 20s is not the same as what we're doing in our 40s and 50s.
Literally had to talk to a client about this today. That is so funny that you'd say that, and I wish I could use the metaphors that I used in the session. But oh my god, I said it's not gonna be the same, and it needs to. It will Bobbyism evolute, and
Yeah.
it's going to change into something, and you need to ride along with it
Well, because
and be supportive of it.
their body isn't the same either. I mean,
No.
so if you're expecting, to have sex and it exactly feel the same way that your 20-year-old body felt it, that's not
Mm-hmm.
growth, my friends.
Or could do it.
Right. That's not growth.
Right.
So
Right. So.
I think the important thing, and for everybody that's listening, I really want them to put down what they are doing, what self love they're doing for themselves this Valentine's
Mhm.
Day, because quite often people externally validate their love, like how
Mhm.
much their partner loves them by how many gifts they receive. And that's very
Mm.
materialistic. Because
Ugh.
yeah, because for me, I just want quality time and touch, and it's in alignment with my love language. So people that don't know the needs of their partner, it's like what's the blindfold thing where you put the tail on the donkey or whatever. You're just trying to stick things that you don't. It's like throwing spaghetti on
There
the
you
wall
are.
you know, because you don't understand how their mind and body clicks, like what gets them going. Because for a lot of women, like
Hmm.
me getting flowers is not a big deal. Me getting chocolate is not a big deal. I can do that for myself. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank God I didn't send you flowers and chocolate. Whew.
But the thing
Oh
is
God.
like, if you don't make time and you don't touch me on Valentine's Day, that's going to bother me because that's an unmet need. That's my love language,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And a lot of people, they say Valentine's is so whatever. It should be done 365, 7 days a week. It should be part of your relationship, like a core part of it. It shouldn't just happen on Valentine's Day. So please don't get it
That is
twisted.
correct.
Please don't get it twisted that
Don't get
you
it
have to
twisted. No.
do.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah,
There is a little bit of pressure that is put on a day like today, and a lot of guys that I have talked to over many, many years are like, "Oh God," and they always just roll their eyes and like, "Why does this have to be?" And I like to tell them, at least you have the situation
right,
that you can do this. There's some guys and girls that are sitting there doing nothing today,
right.
and they're kind of heartbroken about it. Sorry, that's gonna happen, but it doesn't have to be every year. And this is just one of those years that it's going to be that way.
Yeah. I
But
mean, it's
just
just
have faith.
understanding what their needs are and really
Hmm.
kind of fulfilling that for them. One, and then two, just for humanity, I think the world would be a better place if we kind of filled our heart with love instead of
Mm-hmm.
projection and armor and the one up kind of mentality. The
Mm-hmm.
very masculine, and very ego driven type of love.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because what you do doesn't determine who you be. So your being, your essence, that's love for yourself and others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does that make sense? It made sense
It
to me.
does. No, no, it does. Not saying that just for any other reason than it really, really does, because yeah. Um, so anyway, I don't know what time it is. We probably got to wrap up.
We do. We're
It's
about a
Valentine's Day,
yeah.
or somewhere close to it. And just know that a couple of things. One, if you're single on this Valentine's Day, say la vie. That's how that's going to go. And I'm sorry. If you're with somebody on this Valentine's Day and you're dreading it, you might want to reconsider and think about how lucky you are to have a person in your life. And finally, this is about love. And love is something that has evolutions in it. And it has peaks and valleys, and there's going to be a trip that you're going to go on. And what happens here, you're going to take part of that with you and go to the next part, and then you're going to take part of that with you.
And the
So,
thing you say la vie, and I just want to, you know, I want to really stress upon if you don't have somebody with you, this is a sacred space for you to learn yourself and love yourself.
mhm,
Because the
yep,
universe, God, whatever, is giving you this space, this time to cultivate that love and to understand your values and to understand what your needs are so that you can communicate those and build a
right.
relationship on a foundation that can sustain then something that's externally validated, which is like quicksand. There's going to be one
Yeah.
circumstance, one challenge, and it's just going to blow away.
Hmm.
So just,
Yep.
solitude, it it can be the biggest gift. Like the time that I have been alone, it's been a gift because I really got to know myself. I really got to know
Hmm.
my values. I got to know my boundaries. I learned how to communicate with myself better and not
Hmm.
allow that my toxic thinking to get used and projected onto somebody else. It's just a huge
Hmm.
gift. So feel appreciation and gratitude for that time and space because
Yep.
it's a beautiful thing. It's a
Yep.
gift.
That was well said. I couldn't agree more. That's a great positive spin to put on something like that, because it doesn't have to be a negative.
Yep.
It can definitely be a learning area for you.
Yep.
So use it as that and make it a positive.
Yep. And there's always catalysts to, and I used always for on purpose because you have the power to reframe anything into a negative or positive. And like attracts like. If you choose, everything is a choice. Even indecision is a choice. So,
Yeah, I tell my clients not making a choice or not making a decision is also a decision.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you are making your bed, my friends. So this isn't a
Hmm.
shame statement. This is just an awareness statement. And wherever you are, it's okay. It's okay.
Hmm. Yeah,
There's a new
it
day.
really is. That's
Yeah.
the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, I love all you guys. I love you, Bobby. You guys, I
Yeah, I love you.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Yes. Have a happy Valentine's Day, and we will see you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. See you soon.